piano teacher went on holidays for 2 weeks, and I had the worst. I was like, what do I do? I don't have any songs to play. I have to go on the computer and buy sheet music. Are you serious? I can't do, like, I was mad. I needed to play something new.
Today we have a very special guest joining us from Australia. We have Junior. Thank you for joining us today, man. How's everything going for you?
Oh, it's good. 10 a.m. here. It's a good day. Glad to be talking to you guys.
Yeah, man, we're excited. Kind of before we get into your music, let's kind of learn a bit about you. Things like your age, life in Australia, hobbies. What have you kind of been up to?
I'm 25. Life in Australia is all I've known. I've grown up here. I live in Sydney. I've seen a lot of TikToks of Americans not knowing any other countries outside of America. So I'll break it down. We're on the east coast of Australia, a little bit south, below Brisbane, above Melbourne. That's where we are. I'm sure you guys know.
And I've never been, but I've heard Sydney's awesome. I've seen pictures and everything. It looks awesome. So
yeah, we have a weird reputation because we have beautiful beaches and the nightlife is great. However, half of the time it's raining. And in summer, it's great. Right now, we're on like a 10-day raining streak. So pick your moments to come here. I've grown up in Sydney my whole life. I've just been doing music for as long as I can really remember. That's been kind of my job and my hobby at the same time. I'm actively trying to find new hobbies because I've noticed that what I love doing is what I'm also always doing. So I'm like actively being like, oh, let's try rock climbing or something like that.
This is a random question. Have you tried golf? Because I know golf is a big Australian thing.
No, I haven't. My uncle plays golf. I've never like super got into it. It looks a little dull. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm a big golfer. That's why I was asking.
I knew you were going to say that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm glad you like it though. I'm glad it's enjoyable.
It's boring. It's boring. I agree. I was just curious because I know a lot of Australians that play.
Right. Fair.
What kind of music have you been listening to recently?
Recently, I go through so many different phases. Genres have not been a thing for me for so long. I'm known to listen to, I don't know, some country song from the 30s and then Young Thug straight after. You know what I mean? Genres are just not a thing. Recently, I've been getting really into Troye Sivan's new album. I know that's the biggest thing in the world right now, but we're very proud of him as an Australian who's killing it overseas. What else? I've been listening to a lot of people in the scene, a lot of smaller artists that are in Sydney who are coming up. I always find myself listening to the biggest artists as I do because I always like to keep tabs on what's happening, what's relevant, what's coming out. But I always find myself going back to the small artists that I don't think a lot of people know. Literally just my mates who make incredible music. I feel like that'd be the same everywhere. A lot of people, they know people that just make incredible art and can't get away from that regardless of whatever's topping the charts.
When it kind of comes to that, like this project that we've been doing, we've been talking to a bunch of musicians like that, kind of underground people like you're talking about. Related to that, you reached out to us because of us talking to Bren, who we found. What's the story with that? How did you guys get in contact with each other?
Bren hit me up. He listened to my song Stay the Night. He hit me up then. He was like, I love the song. He's creating a little community called Save the Underground. I don't know if it's like an official thing. It's just a group of people who with like-minded ideas, which I am all about. Regardless of taste, style, genre, etc., like-minded ideas, that's the one thing that I think bonds artists together. Like I've never met Bren in person because he's in the States, and I get added to this group chat, which majority of the people, I don't think anyone's like really met each other like in face to face. I don't know that for a fact, but in the group, there's people from the UK, Europe. There's one other band from Australia that weirdly enough, I used to work with the guitarist in the band, Small World. And then a lot of people in the States. But I know the States is such a big place and like you can drive 8 hours and not even hit the next town. Cultures change a lot from state to state. So I know that even that someone living on the East Coast and the West Coast of America, they could have completely different outlooks on music, outlooks on art. So it's really cool that Bren's kind of put this little community together of people who probably wouldn't have met each other if it wasn't for him, and just saying, hey, I like all your music. You guys should like all your music. Let's support each other if you do like the music. And I have found some of the artists in that group when some of the releases really good, and I wouldn't have found them. There's one guy called I Hate Travi, or I Hate You Travi. He does like hip hop aesthetic, but punk pop kind of vibes, but not in a way that I've heard like MGK or someone do it before, in a very unique way. The cops going past you, Caleb. You got the red light.
Myself for a second because an ambulance just came by. I'm living in Philadelphia, so there's like a lot of like ambulances that go by.
They're coming for you.
Run. Trying not to get distracted, but yeah, continue. Sorry.
No. I got distracted. That was my fault.
Very discreet, Caleb.
There's a heap of great artists there that would not have met each other if it wasn't for Brand, wasn't for that community. It's really cool.
He told us a little bit about Save the Underground, and we've been reaching out to a couple of the people in the group. Gold Steps, we've been talking to. They're pop punk, so it sounds like a really cool project, just to kind of bring light to all these different types of music, different artists and everything.
I think that's the main aesthetic. The main surrounding genre is like alternative music. And a lot of the time in the band scene, at least, depends where you're from, depends what's happening, but that punk aesthetic is really coming back in the alternative scene. So I feel like there's a lot of artists that are doing that. And obviously Stay the Night is my most pop punk influenced song. I grew up listening to that kind of music. That music shaped me in a very big way. Not that I make that kind of music, but I feel the aesthetic and I don't know the right way to say it, the pop punk vision. I'm making pop music. I'm making catchy songs you can sing along to, but with this like fuck you attitude. Can I swear on this? Is that cool?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the surrounding aesthetic or thing that groups everyone together from in the underground chat.
Bren was a cool person to meet. He gave some really good advice and then introduced us to his network. So we met you.
Yeah.
I love the rise of Save the Underground, and the artists are kind of just like regaining themselves from like record labels, and more independent artists are rising and focusing on finding the perfect label, and if not, staying more independent and everything to, all right, we got to do this on our own. Because I feel like big corporation record labels are kind of restricting.
Not only that, labels don't know what they're doing nowadays. We're in such a like tumultuous landscape of music where things are changing on the daily so fast that sometimes independent artists, we can't keep up with it. Like trends will be changing on social media that you could do something one day and by the time you do it, it's not what people are doing. Things are changing so fast that even record labels don't know how to break an artist. That's just a fact. I know this because people that I know on labels will only be brought to a label if they've already like done that song that reached this amount of streams, or done that TikTok which got them this amount of followers. Labels won't touch you unless they have a launching pad. However, labels are looking at everyone. Like labels know what I'm doing. And just because I haven't had that thing that they can leech off of, like grab onto, you know what I mean? They need that launching pad because they can't break an artist nowadays. And that's what's crazy about this time is no one knows how to break an artist. Us independent people are just doing it ourselves and seeing what works. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And then people up the top with millions of dollars, they got no clue. It's crazy. It's like really crazy.
It's interesting with social media and everything, having that ability to pop up more with TikTok and like shorts and YouTube shorts and reels.
Yeah.
It's like we create a culture that's not really needing a label necessarily. Transitioning to your early years of your music, when did you first find an interest in music?
I did piano lessons when I was a kid, and I didn't really notice how much they meant to me. In hindsight, I can see it so much. And it was just like piano lessons, like with my piano teacher. I would practice every day, and I didn't know why I was doing it. I was just like, yeah, this is what I do now. I just play piano and that's just what I do. I was talking to my mom about this the other day. The day that I realized that like this was what I was going to be doing forever was my piano teacher went on holidays for 2 weeks. And I had the worst fucking I was like, what do? I don't have any songs to play. I have to go on the computer and buy sheet music. Are you serious? I can't do. I was mad. I was like, I needed to play something new. I needed to do. That was when I started writing songs. I started, let's put some chords together. Let's like do stuff like that. So that was when it started. And then it just grew from there. I started picking up more instruments. I started singing as well so that I could play like the songs I wanted to play on piano. It just like grew from there when I was a kid. Obviously got way more serious later on. But yeah, that's where it started.
Such a good feeling finding that passion right away, that young, so you can develop it and gear your interest in that motion.
Absolutely.
How did you kind of find out that you could sing?
I don't think I really could sing very well when I started. I just did it. I was like doing these covers on YouTube and like playing along to songs on piano and guitar. My school, when I was in year 5, had a rock band, and I auditioned as the singer, even though I had not told any of my friends that I could sing. I auditioned as a singer just to see if I could, and I got in above these other people that were actually singing. This is in year 5, granted, but that was like oh damn, I can sing on a stage. And that was like what I did. You know, when you're like in school and you get like branded as like you're the music kid or you're the sports kid. That was the moment that I was like, okay, cool. I'm the guy in the rock band now. That was like what I do. That was probably it. I've got videos of those times, and from those times up until scarily late, I was not very good at singing. I just did it and I just kept going. I think I only found my voice properly a bit before junior started. I was happy with my voice this whole time, but I think I found how I am truly able to express myself singing maybe 5 years ago, something like that.
A little side question with being that kind of like rock band kid throughout early years of school and everything, because I'm curious about the differences between like, US schools and Australian schools.
Yeah.
How kind of did that like reputation form you while you were going through school?
Like how the reputation of being the music kid.
Yeah.
It gave myself a really great form of identity, and I was happy about that. Like if I was doing something I didn't want to do, different question. Like I loved it and I wanted to do it. In high school, it was year 7 onwards. I think you guys have it differently, but year 7 onwards, year 7 to 12, I went to a different school. It was a lot more preppy and posh, I guess you could say. It was also an all boys school, which sucked. Not because like, oh, girls, just because like toxic masculinity, when you have like thousands of boys going through puberty at the same time in the same space, it is like a breeding ground for that. And I'm not that person at all. I was the music kid. I was the guy that like got my shit out by singing and writing songs instead of, you know, playing rugby and bashing into each other, which no hate to rugby. It's fun. But like, that's just not who I was. And I guess I was kind of outcasted because of that, because like the cool kids played sports and the cool kids were into all that kind of stuff. You can think about it in 2 ways. You're going along with the crowd. You haven't really found your thing, and I had found my thing. It's a great thing to happen. Or you could think about it as like, oh, like I'm kind of outcasted from what's the norm of being a high school boy. But like, I don't regret anything. I was happy. I wasn't like too happy when it was happening, but like I'm happy with the outcome, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We had an interview like a couple weeks ago, and we kind of like sidetracked a little bit, and it's crazy what being around all men, or like if you have a sister versus only having like a brother versus only having a sister, being like only around boys in an all boys school versus co-ed and everything, because we both grew up with sisters and everything, and we were talking about how like being friends with like girls and everything, of just friends. We were talking about how we didn't understand people who didn't understand the concept of, oh, you can't be friends with girls because it can lead to something and everything. It's interesting to have like an older sister kind of just be like, all right, like you can literally just be like a normal person. Girls are just normal, and it's like interesting how it can like have different perspectives and everything.
And I think that's what grows like a good quote unquote man, or a good person in general. If you're surrounded by men or male identifying people who have somewhat backwards ways of looking at the world and their place in the world, and you're only surrounded by them, you'll most likely turn into that kind of person. I have a sister and many amazing female role models in my family. Like, I think that is the main thing that clicked in my head. That's like, what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that kind of person that talks like absolute dog shit about women when they're not around. That's the environment that I was going to school in, and that was the reality. That was just all the boys that were there were like that. Majority of them, at least.
It's crazy like how much your environment just like plays a role, and how you like grow up, and kind of your ways and your habits and everything. And switching back to music, I try to work on better like transitions, but I'm like, there's sometimes where I'm like, I get so sidetracked where it's harder. My apologies.
When I was in those toxic like situations, I would always go back to music. So, and that would really bring me back to the point.
See that's a lot better way of transitioning than I did. That yes, I'm gonna definitely take notes. When was your this is I want to do this moment and fully commit into making music as a career?
I don't know. It's always kind of been a thing. Like as I said, when I was like 8 years old and I was doing those piano lessons, I was like, oh, this is just like what I do now. And I've had those conversations with so many friends that like they pick up a guitar, they're playing guitar, and they don't really think about like the impact that that's having on their lives. They're just like, oh, this is just what I do. This is just my thing. And it's only in hindsight that you look back and you realize, oh, like that was like a very pivotal moment. If like that didn't happen, it's not as much of a specific time that I was like, oh, I want to do music. In terms of like for a career, like actually pushing for junior, that was around 2020. I was in the band scene. I was playing in indie bands and rock bands and stuff like that. And obviously, world shut down, and I couldn't be around my bandmates to write music and record music. So I was like, okay, I've got Logic on my computer. I'm going to learn how to record songs in my bedroom. The main purpose of it was so I could show my bands and like we could do that. And I'd start writing, and eventually I think because of the constraints, you could think about it as constraints or you could not think about it as constraints. I'm going to say constraints. The constraints of just being in your bedroom and only having whatever guitars I have, whatever software instruments that I have, and no drums. The constraints of that really pushed me towards a different sound that I wasn't really utilizing before, which was pop music. I'd never thought of making pop music. For as long as my teenage years and stuff like that, I was really into heavier music, rock music, and hip hop music, like these two different spectrums. But never like 2010s was also a weird time for pop music. It was a good time in some ways, but it was also a weird time. I'd listen to like Calvin Harris or something, or whatever was on the radio like that. And I'd just be like, this is like sugar. Like I was too good for that. That was kind of like my outlook, which is stupid looking back on it. That was just kind of like my outlook when I was making this music a bit older, a bit more foresight. Not that I'm old, but anyway. Yeah, I was just automatically making this like more pop oriented sound with all these other influences sprinkled in. And the more I wrote, the more I was like, okay, this is my thing. This isn't like for a specific, this is like a new thing. When I was kind of stuck inside and forced to figure out a new way to write music, that was when I was like, okay, we're going to start doing this junior thing. Seriously.
You kind of mentioned the different instruments that you play. You mentioned guitar and piano. What else can you do?
Guitar, keys. I play some bass. I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. I can play all those instruments as well as can get me by. And it's always been like as well as can get me to write and play a junior song. I think I've gotten a little bit better recently at guitar because I'm obviously playing it on stage, wanting to get more intricate parts in my songs. And I want to start playing guitar better for other artists as well, because I produce for other artists, co-write their music and play live sometimes with them. So I want to be a more proficient guitar player. I wouldn't say like I have a main instrument. They're all just kind of like things that I know how to play and probably should get better at.
Right. No, it's cool to be able to do a little bit of everything though. And then also sing on top of it. Did you take singing lessons at all? Or you just kind of figure it out on your own?
I took some lessons when I was in school, but they were always very, as I said, I was listening to a lot of rock music, and the way that a lot of the majority of some of those singers sing isn't like the trained way. So I'd take these songs to the teachers and they'd say, no, you can't do this. And that really discouraged me from singing lessons, because I was being told that the music that I loved and the music that has like grown me, that's like not what I'm supposed to sing. I did singing lessons, but I can't say that like they really did a lot of difference. I had one really good teacher for my last 2 years of school. He was like a musical theater singer. Even though he was a musical theater singer, he really understood the type of music that I liked, the type of music I wanted to play. And we kind of had a healthy marriage of like, hey, we're going to do your songs, but we're going to do it with the proper technique and like not fuck up your voice forever, which I'm thankful for, because like I was like really shredding the vocal cords at an early teenage age. If I could go back to my young self, I probably wouldn't say, hey, stop singing. I'd be like, keep going, kid. That's fun. But I'm glad that I did figure out some technique, because it would have been bad for the long run.
And just the people we've talked to, those who sing, there's been so many like different techniques in the way that they do it. Some people are like, oh, I completely learned through a teacher. And then other people are just like, oh, just before a show, I just drink a bottle of water. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Just scream my lungs out. Like, it's different for everybody. Yeah. You kind of mentioned that person that you worked with. Who were some people that you kind of worked with or influenced the music that you make today? The biggest influences?
Probably my friends. Two of my best friends. We've been making music together since like we were teenagers, like 13, 14. Yeah, we wrote a lot of the first junior songs together, and a couple of the others. They've been a big influence, definitely on like the start of the sound. Recently started working with this guy, Kyle Charles Hall is his name, who's become one of my best friends. Not that we've like worked too much together, but we've had like very, very good talks about outlooks on music and the way that we write, the way that we perceive art. And I think that's, without a doubt, definitely changed my writing in a lot of regards. And I add a lot more like moments to songs now. He does that, talked about that a lot, is like this little thing that pops up in the pre-chorus for 2 seconds and then never comes back. That kind of like special thing that makes this part of the song like a moment. He's definitely like helped me realize that. And yeah, that's probably my main few people that really influence the sound.
You kind of went into your songwriting process there, but can you go more in depth? Do you like start with a theme and then write the song, do the instrumental first and then put lyrics over top of it? What's that kind of look like for you?
It's always different. Every single time it's different. I have some songs that I'll voice memo something, vocal melody. Sometimes it's a vocal melody and a lyric for like one part, and that's enough to like figure it all out. And then sometimes I'll like describe every aspect of a chorus. I'll be like, the drums are going to go like this, and then the bass is on, and then the melody on top starts 1, 2. Like I'll explain every single part of it. So sometimes it's that. I have another note in my phone with, it's more of a journal, which like things that I'm like, I want to explore this topic a little bit more deeply. I don't journal per se, but I write down a little note or a thought every day. Just at the end of the day, I'll write down a thought, and then I go back to that. And there are specific ones that I'm like, this one I really want to, because I don't think on them that much in that moment that I'm writing it down, but I'll read back and I'll be like, this one, I need to expand on that thought because I haven't really processed that in my head. So that's sometimes the way it'll go. And then sometimes I just sit down and I'm like, oh, I've been really feeling this vibe lately. Let's try something like that. So it's always different.
When it comes to releasing those songs, then what does that look like for you? Like, I know you do most of it yourself, you were saying, but do you have to send it off to other people to get their input?
Yeah, like it's a lot of trust with people that I trust, because it's only me. I produce all the music. A lot of the time I'm there from the incarnation of the song to the master of the song. I find it very freeing because I get to live in the song. However, it is a little bit lonely at times, because I'm like, oh, sometimes I came from the band scene. I came from like 4 guys in a room standing together with their instruments being like 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go. That's kind of like how I'm used to writing. And this is something I've become accustomed to for this project. And it's very comfortable, but I have those few people around me that I need to show the song to get their input. And those people are people that I really trust. And I don't show it to everyone. Actually, yeah, Kyle, the person I mentioned before, for my next single, I sent him it. He sent like detailed notes plus like extra guitar parts that could just slot into the song, extra vocal parts. I think at the moment we're doing a nice little thing where we like get the song to 95% and then the other does the last 5%. So yeah, there is a lot of trust with people around you to make sure that, I don't show it to everyone, but I show it to those trustworthy people.
Absolutely. You still do most of your work from home, or is there a studio you're working at, or?
Between studios, I had a studio a little bit ago, but we were subletting, and the person we were subletting from didn't pay the rent for like 3 months. So we got kicked out, which was so fun. Okay. We were paying the rent to him, but I don't want to start beef. Anyway, currently I'm working from home. I'm about to move to another apartment a little bit closer to the city because it has 2 bedrooms, and I'm going to turn one of those bedrooms into a studio, properly soundproof it and sound treat it and do everything. Because right now you can't really see, but I just have a desk in the corner of my living room. It's not like I'll produce for artists and bring them over here, and it's not very like professional. It works, and I've been making music here, but I'm keen to get into this new space.
That will be exciting. It'll be probably good for your music too, like you're saying.
Oh yeah.
Have something locked in there. With the notes that you mentioned about writing in your phone, what kind of themes have you noticed you've been writing about recently?
There's a lot of things. I don't like to stick to one theme in particular. It really depends on where I'm at in life. I'm a big fan of writing songs that sound like they're about something and are actually not about that thing. I find it easier to write happy sounding songs, but a lot of the themes that I'm talking about aren't too happy, just because when I'm happy, I want to be like out in the sunshine doing stuff. But when I'm sad or introspective, that's when I'm writing, because that's something I need to get out. But the music I'm writing is mostly happy sounding. I'm a big fan of, writing love songs that aren't love songs at all. But if you listen to it one time, you'd probably think it was a love song. Thematically, recently, I've been dealing with a lot of mental health stuff. My last single was a bit of a dive into like addiction and being on a bender and like that kind of like unhealthy lifestyle that is like is very easy to fall into, but not very sustainable. I've been dealing with that a bit and trying to navigate that. And that's where a few of my songs have landed, in that kind of space. Like I said, I struggled to write happy songs, but my next song is just like pure ecstasy love song because I was feeling it. I try broad scope of things to talk about.
Music's cool because it allows you to be creative, of course, but then emotion goes into it so much, which is what we've found talking to people who write music. Just like you said, it just depends on the day. If you write one song one day, it'll be super depressing. The next day, it'll be super happy.
Absolutely.
And that's why I appreciate the creativity it lets you have.
Yeah, I don't want to box myself into one specific. As if anyone's listened to my music, that's what they will notice, is that like my sound is not very boxed into sounding like one thing. It's very all over the shop. I hope not in a messy way, but I kind of like it as is. I don't have a team at the moment, so I like that I'm able to put out whatever I want. I could put out a trap song and then put out a punk song and then put out a dance song, and it'll still feel authentic because it is authentic. I wouldn't be putting it out if it wasn't. I like that freedom that I can kind of have, just kind of do whatever, put music out that I like.
Would you ever sign to a label or add anyone like to your team?
I'm talking a lot about like the joys of being independent, but like I would love a team. And like I've talked to a lot of people. I've got loose teams, no one who's signed or get taken a percentage or anything like that. But I've got great people who are in the industry who are giving me a lot of feedback and a lot of help in regards to bouncing ideas off, essentially playing manager without being a manager. But in that sense, would love a team, love something a bit more official, because like, I can take things as far as possible, but there's certain contacts and things that I'd only want it if it was like a good fit. I wouldn't just take any random person.
With the success of You Stay on My Mind, what does that success mean to you? And what has kind of your experience been with it?
That song went really well for me. It means like everything. That's probably the oldest Junior song. I wrote it with my friend Nico Scali. We wrote it together before I'd started releasing, and just kind of stayed in the demos folder until I had to play live. And then we were like, oh, we should actually like finish this song. It's really special. It's one of the few from that time that we actually did finish, because it was just a really special song. Made an incredible video for it. It was probably the first thing that I did that I was like, oh, I'm incredibly proud of this. And I was not that I wasn't proud of other things that I'd done, but it was like that next step that I was like, oh, I've been putting out music, but now I'm like an artist that is putting out. I don't want to be just putting out songs, being like, here's a song. I want to be like putting out long living art that is multifaceted, multimedia. I want to be moving beyond it was just music. I want to be moving beyond music and video. I want to be doing live performances. I want to be doing clothes and fashion lines that are attached to this random project. And I think that video, it was the first taste of like, okay, we're starting to like create a little world around Junior, and it's not just some random fuckwit who's making music. That was the first, and reception to it. People really like that video. People really like the song. That song goes off live every time. We get new people singing the words every show, which is crazy.
How was the production of that music video? Because I recently just graduated as a film major, and I kept repeating watching the video over and over again, and it was just such a beautiful, like, developed, like, video. Like, what was, like, the production like? How many, like, locations? How long did it take? Kind of your experience with it.
All my videos, all my visuals in general, I work closely with my partner. She's a director. Her name's Zoe Dubuque. She's amazing. So she directed that video. We kind of came up with the concepts early on, going off the themes of the song, but I'm not one to like do something like, you know, sing a lyric and act it out at the same time. We wanted to be like a short film, essentially. We conceptualized this idea of the road trip, and this road trip that was really like a beautiful experience with your partner at the start, because that's kind of like first listen to the song. It could be a love song. And then as the song keeps going, we see this like darker side to my character, and we see the drugs and what's happening and what he's hiding from my co-star Laura, who's incredible. We conceptualized that and wanted it to be a film, more of a short film instead of a music video. Location wise, we basically drove, was it north? Yeah, we drove north to Stockton Beach, which is about an hour and a half north of Sydney. And like the whole way we were stopping filming as we drove up. The car, forgot about the car. My grandma's family friend owns a car, like a vintage car dealership. And I was like, can we get this Mercedes? And he was like, that's so fine, because my grandma taught him how to drive. So I was like, let's go. So that was so fun, being able to drive this vintage Mercedes up the coast of Australia, of New South Wales, which is so fun. Scary though. I did not want to scratch that motherfucker. We just drove up. We had our producer Kristen. She had done the location scouting and got all the approvals so we could do at the petrol station, gas station, if you will, and Stockton Beach. So Stockton sand dunes, where most of that sand duney dancey stuff was. That was at the sand dunes right next to the beach. You see the water on this side, and then turn around and it's like the Sahara Desert. It's crazy. And that's where we did most of that. What were the other locations? We just kind of like she had just scouted spots along the way that we could do some of the other scenes. There was like a little vineyard. There was a paddock. Yeah, that kind of stuff that we just stopped along the way. It was the most incredible day. It was honestly so good. And shot all on film. Except for some of the dancing scenes, they're digital, but the rest of it was shot on film. Cinematographer is Roger Stonehouse. He's incredible. That was one of the coolest parts, was like we rehearsed. So you know when you're doing a music video or something, you do like 5 or 6 takes of the same scene. We rehearsed 5 or 6 takes without camera, and then we're like, okay, do you think we can do it? Because we have 1 take. We only have this much film, and we have 1 take to get it right. So everything there, I think we might have done 2 takes for some of the fighting scenes, but everything else was 1 take because we've rehearsed it before. So that was incredibly scary. But I'm not an actor. I just try my best. And Laura was incredible. Snaps straight into the moment, straight into character.
Yeah, I was just about to say, because I know how difficult it is to film on film, and you have to be so precise with it. And it came out so good. The quality that comes out of film is like, mwah. It's
so warm.
I love it. I love it.
We waited like a week to get it back, and me and Zoe are just talking. We're just like, what if we got nothing? What if what if the film comes back and it's all like blown out and like zoomed in wrong? Yeah, no, but it looks so good. It looks so good. We're so happy with it.
Last question of the process of releasing music. What was the process like releasing that song comparatively to now? Like, do you have different processes of how you approach releasing a song? Has it like changed over time?
Yeah. As I said, I don't want to be just releasing music and just putting out a song and saying, hey, listen to it. I want it to be a little bit more multifaceted. And that is sometimes a bit hard to do because obviously I can't be up to the standard of You Stay on My Mind music video every time. That took a lot of effort, a lot of time. And I don't have the budget to, even though we did that on the cheap, I don't have the budget to do a big music video with incredible label-backed visuals for every single. we just can't do it. So I have to be very creative with how I do it, because I also don't want to just release a song and have subpar world building around it, if that makes sense. I want it to be kind of a new addition to the junior world that we're kind of like building on. And I think I've done that well sometimes. I think I've done that not so well other times. It's definitely a tricky one to navigate, trying to tread the line between releasing art and releasing TikToks, if that makes sense. I'm a big supporter of TikTok. I think if you're not going with the wave, you're an idiot. This is the way music is going. And sure, people make that argument like, I haven't found my favorite artist on TikTok. So what? Have you blown up? Like, have you blown up in any other, like, no one is blowing up without a massive budget behind them and backing from a label or a team like that, or they're doing it on TikTok. It's just how it is. And it's been how it is for like 10 years with YouTube. Same thing. People would need to be doing some kind of social media to do it. Big supporter of that. However, I'm not a big supporter for my project of being like, I just made the song of the summer. I just can't do that. It just doesn't go with my brand and what I want to put out there as an artist. That makes releasing music now a little bit harder, because I have to figure out this new way on the platform that is the zeitgeist to get my music out there and create new fans. And that's makes releasing music now a little hard. But it's a journey. We're figuring it out as we go.
Always evolving. Obviously, me and Caleb don't make music, but even with what we're doing, we're trying to figure out new stuff, how to grow, what we can change, all that good stuff. You mentioned already a new single. What can you kind of share about that and other new music that you have planned?
Yeah, I've got a new single. I haven't announced it or anything. My next single that's going to be out in late June is another stylistic pivot, I guess. It's like very influenced by house and UK garage music. I feel like even if you're not actively listening to dance music, you're influenced by dance music because you hear it when you go out to clubs or anywhere. A lot of different genres of music, without even thinking about it, are influenced by that. And I have been influenced by it for so long. It's kind of showed up in like little snippets in a couple songs. You kind of hear like a two-step groove or like a house beat in the background, but it's not the style that I'm kind of like chasing. And this is kind of like the boldest that I've gone in that direction. And it's kind of turned out to be one of my favorite songs. It's probably my favorite junior song at this point, which is really exciting. We have an incredible music video that's going along with this one. It's probably the biggest venture that I've ever gone on, is this video. We had like a 25-person crew for the video. Dancers, we had 5 dancers, choreographer, movement director, makeup, costume. We had production designers creating a cocoon for me to be in. It's like a whole thing. We shot underwater. We got like an underwater housing. It's really crazy. I was sitting there doing it, listening to this song that I'd made mostly in this room. I was like, I can't believe this is like happening. Like there's so many people that believe in the project and like are doing this for the love of the project and the song and the outcome. It was a very overwhelming experience. I think I'm the most excited that I've been. I've released a lot of singles. And like sometimes I'm like, hell yeah, I love this song. I always love the song. But sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little release fatigue now. I want to get this song out and then kind of like chill for a minute. But this is like the first time in a minute that I've been like, oh yeah, I cannot wait to put this song out. I cannot wait for people to hear it. It's weird. It's like a very different side to my artistry, but also one of the most authentic that I've been in a while.
That's exciting. We're looking forward to it. Again, you mentioned singles, and from other artists we've talked to, as an independent artist, there's more singles released than like EPs, albums, or anything like that. Do you have any plans for EP or an album at all?
Yeah, I do. I'm actually going to France in August. My partner's French. I'm going there in August. I've applied for a residency at a studio and I got it. I kind of like pitched to them the project, which will be my first EP. And I'm going to be going there to write that EP. But I've started planning a little bit, but I haven't been writing so much. Everyone writes love songs. We're all across love songs. Yeah. I kind of wanted to go very in depth with my specific experience. And I thought that the best way to do that would be to live for 2 weeks where my partner grew up for the first like 18 years of her life. So I wanted to live there, soak up the culture, be in a place that is inspiring. I can work at my own pace and live there, meet the people, talk to people, and write my EP about my specific situation. So I'm going to be doing that. You're probably not going to see it for a minute, but I'm going to be writing it in a couple of months. I've had this booked in for about a year and a half now. That's when I got the residency. It's been a very long time coming. And I'm very excited. It's going to be so good.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. You've mentioned this a little bit, live performances.
Yeah.
Do you have any shows coming up? Anything planned for that?
Actually, I'm taking a little bit of a chill. I don't have anything that's announced as of yet. I think I've got a university show, like a college kind of vibe in late June. So around the same time my next single's coming out. Nothing too major at the minute. I'm kind of trying to focus my efforts on this music video and the next single. And then also I need to break a little bit and just go to France and write. Not that I'm going to stop writing while I'm here, or not that I'm going to stop like actively looking for or trying to play shows. I definitely need to be a human for a second, because I've been pushing Junior for a year and a half straight, like without stopping. I think after this single in June, I'm going to take like a month to just like be a human and chill before I go away, because otherwise I'm going to go to France, be burnt out and not write. I'm so determined to write the best thing that I've ever done when I'm over there. And if I fuck myself over by burning myself out with, I don't know, shows are tiring. They take up a lot of practice and energy creating the show. I think a little break is deserved.
Right. No, absolutely. Do you enjoy performing?
Yeah, I was just about to say
I figured it was Caleb again. Yeah, I figured it.
They're coming for you. They're driving overseas.
When it comes to performances, you enjoy performing? Like performances have gone great for you so far?
Oh yeah. No, we've had some great shows. We've had some really, really incredible shows. The setup is it's me, my best friend Max on guitar, my best friend Tommy on drums. It's crazy how much the show has grown. We like just started off playing the songs. Now they've really turned into like an experience. We now like separate the show into 3 separate acts. So we have like the songs kind of moving into each other, and the reception's been crazy. We played a show 3 weeks ago that we packed out the room, and so many people I knew and loved were there, and so many people that I didn't know were also there singing every word, which I was just like, oh, we're like, it's crazy. And yeah, we've played a few great supports for some bigger bands too, which has been incredible, and their fans have really messed with the sound. Yeah, no, it's been really good.
Me and Caleb, we've gotten into concert photography, videography a little bit as part of this project. So we've enjoyed a lot of concerts recently. We're always looking for more stuff to go to.
Sick. Well, if you're in Sydney, I'll put you on the door.
Right.
Thank you.
I was just going to ask, do you travel at all for your shows, or mostly local? Or
we haven't yet. Touring's expensive, as I'm sure you know. Touring's very expensive. There are grants that you can get to like cover the costs. Say we went overseas, we'd need the tickets and merch sold at that venue to cover our flights and accommodation. And just at this point, it's
right
tough to do that.
It's a lot for sure.
But that is on the list. Absolutely. I'll probably be crying the whole time, but like I cannot wait for that first overseas show. It's going to be such a trip.
Right. That's probably part of the dream, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of wrap this up. Do you have any social media plugs in particular you want us to put on here?
Yeah.
Or just anything we can find?
It's at Junior full stop. JNRFULLSTOP. I know you guys say period for your full stop. It's period. Over here, it's full stop. That's JNR dot. You know what I mean? At Junior full stop, JNRFULLSTOP on everything except for Facebook. Someone else has that, but who uses Facebook nowadays anyway? So that's fine.
Right.
Don't follow me on Facebook. Specifically, don't follow.
Right.
But yeah, that's it.